brainstorm about what could be done to remedy the situation. And we ended up deciding that it was time that we asked the residents. So she invited a focus group of residents together, and we kind of presented what we were talking about and wanted to get their opinion on it. And it was very interesting seeing what their viewpoints were. Most of the people in the focus group had identified the bullying behaviors in the community. They had seen it, they were aware of it, and they were uncomfortable with it. And I think, ultimately, it just, as a community as a whole, it wasn't out in the open enough for people to really start doing anything about it. And there wasn't a lot of awareness about the negative consequences to the person directly, as well as to our community as a whole. So it was very heartwarming how they, at the focus group, really, latched onto this idea of the butterfly program. And we built the Butterfly Club off of their guidance. So it started out slowly. We started with some meetings with our residents as a whole to talk about the concept of bullying. And we're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. But bullying is a word that isn't typically given to the behaviors in the senior community. You often hear about it more in school cafeterias and middle schools and that sort of thing. But in reality, bullying is what was going on. So opening up the community to the idea of bullying was pretty horrifying for a lot of our residents, and they were very uncomfortable with the word bullying. And we had some good discussions about, is what's going on bullying, and why is that so hurtful, and how does that make people feel, and then it branched off there to different talks about empathy and awareness of people's differences and understanding about those differences and gratitude and happiness. So the Butterfly Club has gone off in a lot of different directions. We still meet with the Butterfly Club periodically. We also provide education to all the residents and employees about different topics relating to the Butterfly Club. If it's just a little reinforcement of the Butterfly Club's principles, that might go out to our residents. Sometimes it's different articles that are applicable. We also do provide information for all of our new employees. We want them to know about the Butterfly program. We want them to know how they can be a part of the Butterfly program as well. And that's had some very good responses with our new employees coming in. And we also do different gratitude and peer support projects, like our Today I'm Grateful For bulletin board and You Are Important cards. So the work that Jennifer and the focus group did a few years ago has turned into something that's been very lasting in our community. I am fortunate enough to be part of it. I hear firsthand about what people have experienced because part of the Butterfly Club is encouraging people to come and talk with me when they see bullying going on, or if they're being bullied themselves. And we work together on strategies, and we work on ways to help improve the situation. And I've been fortunate enough to see the number of people that come in and talk, but also the changes that actually have happened on our campus. We're seeing fewer people moving because of social issues now. We're seeing a general culture of awareness of bullying issues and a better supportive culture for our residents. So I see the Butterfly program as being a very successful one in our community. If you happen to be listening to this from another community, just rest assured that the principles that we're going to talk about here can be easily put into place in your community as well. And I'm very happy to talk with you about any way that I can to help you get this established in your community. So now you have a little background on the Butterfly Club and how it got started and what it looks like now in our community. Now what I'd like to do is to move on to actually talking to you about the basis behind the Butterfly Club, the objectives for the presentation today. I'd like you to be able to recognize situations that might promote bullying. I'd like you to understand what bullying is and the different types of bullying that you might be facing in your community. And I'd like you to gain knowledge about how to prevent and manage bullying behaviors in your community. So when Jennifer and I were working on this project, we were considering the idea of the word itself, bullying, and what it means and what it would mean to our residents living here. We debated about whether it was too strong a word to use, but in effect, we realized that some of the behaviors that were going on here are indeed bullying behaviors, and we thought there was a certain power behind that word to help people understand the impact that some of these behaviors can really have on a person, on their psyche, and on their emotional health. So we do center the Butterfly Club around the concept of bullying prevention, with the idea of bringing peer support in to help prevent some of the bullying behaviors from happening. So bullying as a whole is generally defined as repeated and purposeful language or actions that can hurt another person. As the Butterfly Club has grown, we've had a few people come in and talk about the different concepts about the Butterfly Club. And what some people have asked is, well, are we talking about bullying? Are we talking about just general meanness and rudeness? And really they are all related, but they are a little bit different. Now, the definition of rudeness is inadvertently saying or doing something that hurts someone else. The definition of meanness is purposefully saying or doing something to hurt someone once or maybe twice. And bullying is the intentionally aggressive behavior repeated over time that involves an imbalance of power. So for our purposes, we're not going to get too into detail about whether a certain behavior is rude, mean, or if it's actually bullying. We're just going to call everything bullying as a general umbrella. And again, just trying to help people understand that their direct actions can significantly impact somebody else's life. There are a lot of different types of bullying that happens in the outside community and in our own communities here in Senior Life. Some of the typical types of bullying are social, emotional, cyber. It's kind of one of the newest ones that's getting more and more popular, unfortunately, is bullying through the internet, through social media and that sort of thing. Verbal bullying, physical bullying, and sexual bullying. So when we started developing this program, we talked to our residents to find out what are the most common bullying behaviors that we see here on our own campus. And the following three are the most common ones that we've identified. Social and emotional bullying. These bullies try to increase their own social standing by controlling or bullying another person. Examples include ostracizing from a group, spreading rumors, gossiping, manipulating situations, and breaking confidences. The second kind is a little surprising to some folks, and that's the physical bullying. These bullies typically use physical actions to gain power and control over their targets. The way that I describe it is what happens oftentimes is more of an indirect physical bullying. I'll be talking to a resident that maybe is in our subacute rehab, who's gone through a lengthy hospitalization and recovery process. They're getting ready to come home, and the therapy team is recommending the use of a walker. And the resident will say to me, I'm not going to use a walker because I'm going to be picked on if I do use it. Back at Wyndemere, I'll be yelled at or I'll be made fun of. And that's something that we were seeing happening more frequently than we would like. And then there's the verbal bullying. Perpetrators of verbal bullying use words, statements, and name calling to gain power and control over a target. So the question comes, who are bullies? Trying to understand why they might be demonstrating the behavior that they do sometimes will help us figure out what to do to prevent their behavior from happening in the first place. So typically, individuals who find positive reinforcement by making others feel threatened, fearful, or hurt, or oftentimes what would be considered a bully. Bullies have difficulty tolerating individual differences. They can exhibit a lack of empathy. Bullies often lack their own self-esteem. And one thing that we found here at Wyndemere with our focus group is oftentimes bullies act out of fear of something going on in their own lives. For example, if we saw some of these folks, making fun of another resident who has dementia, a lot of times that bullying behavior can be based out of fear that bully actually has for himself, worried that maybe he's going to have dementia someday, and trying to kind of separate himself from the idea of dementia by bullying, this other resident. So oftentimes we see that bullies have their own insecurities, their own fears, and that might be why they demonstrate some of these behaviors. An important thing that we tried looking at is to see who is the most vulnerable on our campus, who's going to be a potential target for bullies. A group of residents that we found firsthand were often targets are residents with sensory deficits. So a decrease in hearing and vision can cause isolation in social situations through lack of compassion, empathy, and assistance. We also saw that residents who had physical changes and challenges were often the targets as well. Physical challenges and changes can result in bullying in situations where a resident uses mobility aids, has physical characteristics or changes that make them stand out, or have challenges managing their self-care needs. We also found that residents who are challenged with dementia also would become targets of the bullying behaviors. Changes in cognition and behavior are one of the leading triggers in our community for being bullied. In addition, we looked outside the box a little bit and realized that our employees were targets of some of the bullying behavior as well. And even though our employees are trained in extraordinary impressions and trained in customer service, and part of our job is to kind of deal with whatever issues come along, some of these bullying behaviors are very hurtful, and it can have an impact on the campus, and with our employees, with their job satisfaction, with their happiness at work. And we were seeing that starting to become affecting our employees as well. So, identifying all of these things about what bullying behaviors are going on campus, why a bully might be a bully, and who might be the biggest targets for some of these bullying behaviors. From there was a question about, what is the Butterfly Club going to do about this? And the idea started surfacing that there was just a very basic concept that we wanted to adopt as the kind of the mantra for the Butterfly Club, and that is kindness is contagious. The more kindness that is shown to people in the community, the more that kindness spreads to others. This can be called the butterfly effect. So with the butterfly effect, the thought is that the little wind that's stirred up from the flapping of a butterfly's wings has the power to grow bigger and bigger and bigger and make changes that can happen all the way across the world. So that was what we decided to focus on. That's why we call it the Butterfly Club, with the idea that we can make changes. We can do little things individually or as a team that will create big changes on our campus. So that's what this club is about, is helping individuals to understand that one person can make a big difference in the culture of our campus. One person can make a big difference in another person's life, and a group of like-minded individuals with the shared goal of changing a community culture for the better can be successful, it can be contagious, and it can make a difference. So you might be asking, how can you help? This all sounds good. You want to stop bullying from happening. You want to support your neighbors and your friends. You want to change the community culture. Well, how can you help? So one of the first things that you can consider is joining the Butterfly Club, which is defined as a group of like-minded individuals looking to help support peers in the community through kindness and acceptance. If you're a Wyndemere resident, you can actually attend our meetings. You're part of the face-to-face Butterfly Club. If you're in another community, you are welcome to join the Butterfly Club as well from a distance. And at the end of the presentation, you'll hear about how you can join. The Butterfly Club worked together to draw out the guidelines, kind of the expectations of what the Butterfly Club is about and how peers can be supported. So this is what our residents worked out as the Butterfly Club guidelines. Number 1, stay calm. It's easy to get worked up when there's some negative behavior that's happening either around you or toward you. But the best thing to do is to start by staying calm, redirect conversation away from the negative behaviors. It's okay to change the subject, to say, you know what, I'm not comfortable talking about this. Let's talk about something else. Acknowledge hurtful words or actions. Sometimes people are afraid to speak up when they hear something that's being talked about that might be a bullying or just rude or mean. But it's okay to say something about it and to call attention to the issue. One thing that really sticks out of my mind is when we started the Butterfly Club, I had quite a few people coming into my office wanting to sit and wanting to talk and feeling horribly guilty because they would say to me, I didn't realize that what I was doing is considered bullying. I didn't realize what I was doing that was hurtful to other people, and I'm going to try really hard in the future not to do it again. That actually surprised me tremendously, the number of people that came in, the number of people that were open about it, and the positive reaction afterwards is that some of that behavior did stop. So sometimes people aren't aware of their own actions, and it's okay to acknowledge it so they are aware. And the last main guideline on this slide is to make your opinion clear without becoming a bully yourself. And that was an interesting concept because, the idea isn't to, have the Butterfly Club reign in terror. It's to really demonstrate the right behaviors through role modeling. And if you're bullying a bully to stop their bullying behavior, then you're actually becoming a bully yourself. So some of the guidelines are, directions about how to make your opinion clear without doing it in a bullying way. We found that it was helpful for residents to have some key phrases that they could use to make it a little bit easier when they heard some bullying behavior going on. So phrases like, that sounds hurtful, or how about a little compassion, or I don't agree with that viewpoint. Sometimes having those phrases in your pocket can be very helpful. It just helps to give you a little bit of information about how you can redirect the conversation when you hear something going on that isn't a kind thing, as some rudeness or meanness or bullying going on. Some different tips and tricks that the Butterfly Club has also talked about. Never feel that you're alone. And this has been one of the really wonderful parts of the Butterfly Club, is that the community as a whole has come together to support each other. Part of the Butterfly Club is my responsibility is to encourage people to come to talk to me when they have a situation that's going on that they don't know how to handle, or if there is bullying going on that needs to be brought to our attention. So everybody should understand that you're not alone in dealing with these situations. If you are being bullied, or if you know somebody that is being bullied, bring those problems or challenges to the attention of your resident council or your own residential health department. You can also work with other Butterfly Club members to support your peers in a team approach. And we've seen at Wyndemere that that's been a very successful way to handle certain concerns and issues. This was a nice story with our focus group that Jennifer Steele was working with at the beginning. When she got done talking with them and she asked them for ideas, one of our residents spoke up and said, really, what we need to be reminded of in all of this is that we need to live by the golden rule. And he said, and more than that, we should actually be living by the platinum rule. So for those of you that aren't familiar with those two, they're very similar, but a little bit different. The golden rule is treat others the way you would like to be treated. The platinum rule is even better. Treat others the way they would want to be treated. And that one just gives a little bit more emphasis on empathy, putting yourself into that person's shoes, figuring out how that person would want to be treated, and then accommodating that by your behavior. When we meet with the Butterfly Club in person at Wyndemere, a lot of times we'll do a collaboration activity. And what that is, it's a group of people breaking up into small groups in the room, and in using shared strategies to figure out solutions for different scenarios that I pose to them. So if you're listening to this over the internet, you can do this exercise on your own. Get out a pen and a piece of paper, and you can jot down your answers to the following scenarios. So in each one that's coming up, I'm going to give you a scenario, and when I'm done with it, I want you to try to write down at least 3 ways that you can support that peer in the situation that's posed. First scenario. You see Mr. Person coming into the dining room. He goes over to Mrs. Grouch's table to sit. You hear Mrs. Grouch say, "You can't sit here, find another table." Then she turns to her friend and starts talking about him. How can you support Mr. Person? Take a few minutes to think about this. Scenario 2. You see Mr. Person sitting by himself. You know that Mr. Person is often confused and is difficult to communicate with. He never remembers your name or that you have met him numerous times before. He looks sad every time you see him. How can you support Mr. Person? Mr. Person can be very gruff. He often is unkind to others. He is very negative and complains to anyone and everyone. Yet, he's lonely, and you often see him sitting by himself looking sad. How can you support Mr. Person? You see Mr. Person looking confused outside the activity room. Mr. Person has a hard time seeing things because of macular degeneration. He seems to be trying to find someone. How can you support Mr. Person? So you've heard the 4 scenarios. You've had a little chance to think over how you would help support these residents in the scenarios. What are those suggestions? There's no right or wrong answer. But the exercise of going through these scenarios will help you to be prepared. If you happen to be out in the community and you see something going on that is a negative thing that's going on for a resident, if you see somebody being bullied by another resident, not invited to sit at a table, being gossiped about. If you see a resident in the community that has sensory limitations, looking lost or uncomfortable in their own home, you might, come up with some strategies of how to help support those people. You had a scenario about, Mr. Person that tended to be a grouch himself and really was a difficult person to be around, but you might have gained a little empathy in seeing the fact that he also feels kind of lonely and lost, and that a bully can actually feel bullied himself and needs a little extra guidance and TLC. And then you see the scenario about somebody who has dementia and what their life can look like when they're being a little bit isolated, or they're scared, or they're confused. So those are all common scenarios. And thinking them over ahead of time, you'll have your own action plan ready to go. So if you see these things going on in your community, you're going to be able to step right in and help to support that resident to feel comfortable in their home, and in doing so, it will help to change the community culture as a whole. The Butterfly Club adopted their motto as SOAR, SOARR, and each member promises to speak up if he or she sees bullying, offer a hand to those bullied, acknowledge that we are all different, raise awareness to eliminate bullying, and to respect our home and neighbors. So to review, here are some suggestions from the Butterfly Club about how to change a community culture for the better. Smile. Be a friend. Stay calm. Watch your verbal and nonverbal language. Don't be a bystander. And follow the golden and the platinum rule. I'd like to thank you for helping to make our community and your community a loving and compassionate place to live. If you would like to join the Butterfly program, you are welcome to contact me, Beth Grigg, at bethgrigg@WyndemereLCS.com. I'd be very happy to share with you some of the programs and projects that we've done in our community for the Butterfly program. If you would like to start your own Butterfly program in your community, let me know, and I can help give you the resources for you to be able to do that easily. Or if you have any questions or would like more information, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you have comments, suggestions, or ideas for future Well Aware topics, you can let me know as well by emailing griggbeth@WyndemereLCS.com or by calling 630-681-4037. We have a wonderful residential health resource team available for your assistance as well. If you would like to reach out to any members of the team, you're welcome to get in touch with me, and I'll forward your message to them. For more information about Well Aware Wellness Program, contact me at griggbeth@WyndemereLCS.com or at 630-681-4037. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm always very interested to hear your opinions, your perspectives, so don't hesitate to reach out and let me know what you're thinking. Be watching your mailboxes for next month's Well Aware presentation, and please join us on our Well Aware YouTube channel by searching on YouTube for Well Aware Wellness, which will bring you right to our channel. On that channel are various presentations for Well Aware, as well as different playlists of important topics regarding senior health and wellness. Thank you again for attending, and I look forward to hearing from you.